Remember that creepy feeling you get when you realize someone's been watching you? That's what we're talking about today, folks. Surveillance. But not just some dude with binoculars in a trench coat. We're talking about the kind of all-seeing, all-knowing surveillance that would make Orwell blush. Since 9/11, the government, under the guise of national security, has built a surveillance apparatus so vast, so intrusive, it would make the East German Stasi green with envy. And if you think your smartphone is just for taking blurry selfies and ordering takeout, think again. Corporations are also in on the act, hoovering up your data like a Roomba on a Cheeto dust bender. Now, some might say, hey, I've got nothing to hide. What's the big deal? But this isn't about hiding. It's about freedom. It's about the right to speak your mind, to assemble freely, to live your life without the constant looming presence of Big Brother. So buckle up, buttercups. We're going deep into the world of surveillance, exploring its chilling effects on democracy and what we can do to reclaim our digital rights. Because in the immortal words of Benjamin Franklin, those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. And frankly, they probably deserve whatever terrible reality show the government decides to make of their lives. The year is 2001. The Backstreet Boys are still a thing somehow, and America is reeling from the 9/11 attacks. In the wake of tragedy, the government promises to keep us safe, no matter the cost. Enter the Patriot Act. Now, I'm no constitutional scholar, but even I can tell you that this act is about as subtly named as a monster truck rally called Democracy Demolition Derby. It gives the government sweeping powers to spy on its own citizens, all in the name of fighting terrorism. Suddenly, phone calls are tapped, emails are read, and the government is collecting data on a scale that would make even Mark Zuckerberg say, "Whoa, that's a bit creepy, even for me." But hey, we were told it was for our own good. We were told it would keep us safe. And you know what? It worked. For a while, we didn't have another 9/11s. But at what cost? Did we trade our freedom for a false sense of security? And more importantly, did anyone ask if we wanted to make that trade in the first place? Because here's the thing about freedom. It's kind of like a parachute. You don't realize how much you need it until you find yourself plummeting towards the ground without it. And once it's gone, it's not easy to get back. Remember when the internet was going to set us free? Yeah, me neither. Because somewhere along the way, the digital utopia we were promised turned into a surveillance state straight out of a Black Mirror episode. The NSA, that bastion of secrecy and code breaking, is now in the business of collecting everything from your embarrassing Google searches to your late-night pizza orders. And thanks to programs like Prism, they're getting a little help from their friends in Silicon Valley. That's right, folks. Those same tech companies that promise to connect the world are also busy connecting the government to your personal data. It's enough to make you want to throw your smartphone in the ocean and live off the grid. But where's the fun in that? Plus, you'd miss out on all those targeted ads for survival gear and canned beans. And who wants to miss out on that? The truth is, state surveillance has become so ubiquitous, so deeply embedded in the fabric of our digital lives, that we've become desensitized to it. We've traded our privacy for convenience, our freedom for the illusion of security. Let's talk about Google, shall we? That friendly tech giant that helps you find cat videos and settle bar bets. But behind that innocuous search bar lies a data-hungry behemoth, collecting your every click, every search, every email. And it's not just Google. Facebook, Amazon, Apple, they're all at it, building detailed profiles of your online behavior, your likes and dislikes, your hopes and fears. And what do they do with all this information? They sell it, of course, to advertisers, marketers, and anyone else willing to pay for a glimpse into your digital soul. This is the new economy, folks, data capitalism. Your information is the commodity, and these tech giants are the robber barons, raking in billions by exploiting your digital footprint. Now, you might be thinking, so what? They show me some targeted ads, no big deal. But this goes beyond just annoying pop-ups and personalized spam. This is about control. Control over what you see, what you read, what you believe. It's about shaping your reality, one click at a time. Section 5, from COINTELPRO to PRISM, when surveillance goes wrong. History has a funny way of repeating itself, especially when it comes to government overreach. Take COINTELPRO, for example. Back in the 60s and 70s, the FBI, in its infinite wisdom, decided to neutralize political activists by spying on them, infiltrating their groups, and generally making their lives a living hell. They targeted everyone from civil rights leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. to anti-war protesters to environmental activists. Because, nothing says protecting democracy like silencing dissent. Fast forward to the present day, and we have PRISM, the NSA's mass surveillance program, that collects data on millions of Americans. Sure, the technology is more sophisticated, the scale more massive, but the underlying principle is the same. Spy on your own citizens in the name of national security. The lesson here is clear. Give the government an inch of surveillance power and they'll take a mile. And once you start down that slippery slope, it's hard to turn back. Section 6, the chilling effect, how surveillance stifles dissent and erodes democracy. Here's the thing about living in a surveillance state. It makes you act differently. You think twice before you speak your mind. You hesitate before you join a protest. You censor yourself for fear of being watched. This is what's known as the chilling effect of surveillance. It's the subtle but insidious way that constant monitoring erodes our freedoms, making us less likely to exercise our rights for fear of reprisal. Think about it. Would you feel comfortable criticizing the government if you knew your phone calls were being tapped? Would you join a protest if you knew your face was being scanned by facial recognition software? This is the real danger of unchecked surveillance. It creates a climate of fear and self-censorship, where people are afraid to speak out against injustice, to challenge authority, to exercise their democratic rights. And when that happens, democracy itself is at risk. Section 7, fighting back practical solutions to rein in surveillance overreach. Okay, so we've established that mass surveillance is bad, very bad, but what can we do about it? Well, for starters, we need to stop treating our privacy like an old pair of socks. Something we can just toss aside without a second thought. We need stronger privacy laws like GDPR in Europe that give individuals more control over their data. We need to hold tech companies accountable for their role in the surveillance state, demanding greater transparency and stronger privacy protections. And most importantly, we need to educate ourselves and others about the dangers of unchecked surveillance. Because the only way to fight back against this erosion of our freedoms is to be aware of it, to speak out against it, and to demand better from our elected officials and the corporations we entrust with our data. It's time to take back our digital lives, to reclaim our privacy, and to ensure that the future of technology is one where freedom and innovation go hand in hand. Section 8, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. Remember that whole land of the free, home of the brave thing. Yeah, well, freedom isn't a given. It's not something you inherit like an awkward family heirloom. It's something you have to fight for every single day. And in the digital age, that fight is more important than ever. Because the same technologies that connect us, that empower us, can also be used to monitor us, to control us, to silence us. We need to be vigilant. We need to hold our elected officials accountable, to demand transparency from tech companies, and to educate ourselves and others about the importance of digital rights. Because the price of freedom may be eternal vigilance, but the cost of apathy is far greater. The slow, insidious erosion of the very values that make our democracy worth fighting for. Section 9, conclusion, reclaiming our digital rights and protecting democracy. So there you have it, folks, the not-so-pretty truth about surveillance in the 21st century. It's a complex issue with no easy answers. But one thing is clear, we can't afford to be complacent. We need to reclaim our digital rights, to demand greater transparency and accountability from both the government and tech companies, and to foster a culture of digital literacy and awareness. Because the future of our democracy may very well depend on it. And if we don't, well, let's just say that Big Brother will be watching and listening and tracking our every move. And frankly, that's a reality show none of us should want to star in.